The Constitutional Court rules that President Jacob Zuma violated the Constitution by ignoring the Public Protector's findings on Nkandla. As the ANC convenes an urgent meeting of senior leaders following the ConCourt judgment, while opposition parties call for Zuma to resign.
And in your sports news, Saru hopes to finalize its preferred candidate for Springbok coach at tomorrow's annual general meeting.
6:30. Hello and welcome to it. You're watching eNEWS Direct. I'm Duduzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandy Leganose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNEWS Direct.
And tonight's hashtags are Nkandla Judgment, Mkhweng and Madonsela.
And this dominates headlines. South Africa's highest court has delivered the most damning judgment ever made against President Jacob Zuma and the National Assembly. The Constitutional Court has ruled that the country's first citizen violated the Constitution by ignoring the Public Protector's Nkandla findings. It's further found that the National Assembly attempted to undermine the Public Protector's office.
President Jacob Zuma may have hoped that his last-minute offer to pay back some of the money spent on non-security upgrades to his Nkandla home would spare him from a damning Constitutional Court ruling. But it wasn't to be.
An order will thus be made that the President's failure to comply with the remedial action taken against him by the Public Protector is inconsistent with his obligations to uphold, defend, and respect the Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic.
The court's 11 judges have unanimously ruled that the National Assembly violated its constitutional duty to hold Zuma accountable after Public Protector Thuli Madonsela found that he and his family unduly benefited from the Nkandla upgrades.
This judgment is not simply about the Nkandla saga. It is fundamentally about good leadership in a constitutional democracy, where rule of law and a commitment to it drives those in power, rather than politics or patronage.
And rule of law is about upholding the Constitution.
Individuals must live by this book. This is our Bible. Without this, we are nothing. There is no state. We are another failed African state.
We are saying to the people of Parliament, the members there, that their actions today require that they must take decisive action, uphold the constitutional ruling and remove President Zuma.
Both the EFF and DA are adamant this ruling makes it clear that Zuma cannot continue to lead South Africa. Karen Morn, Johannesburg.
Well, let's take a closer look at that judgment.
Chief Justice Mkhweng has ruled that the Public Protector's remedial action is binding. And President Jacob Zuma's failure to comply with this remedial action is both inconsistent with the Constitution and invalid. The Constitutional Court has ordered the Treasury to determine the cost of the non-security upgrades to the President's private homestead. These include the amphitheatre, cattle kraal, chicken run and swimming pool. The Treasury will also determine what percentage of the upgrades the President will have to pay for. It will report back to the court with its calculation within 60 days. President Jacob Zuma then has 45 days to pay up. The Chief Justice has further ordered Zuma to discipline the ministers involved as per the Public Protector's report. He says the resolution passed by the National Assembly absolving Zuma of complying with that remedial action is inconsistent with the Constitution and has been set aside. And finally, the President, Police Minister and National Assembly have been instructed to pay the costs of the court application as well as the legal fees. Narissa Subramani, Johannesburg.
And of course, opposition parties are now calling for President Jacob Zuma's head. They want him to step down for violating his oath of office by ignoring the Public Protector's remedial action.
The message is clear.
We have a crisis now. The court the highest court in the land say our president has broken his oath of office and that our National Assembly have acted illegally and that our executive have not exercised their function.
For opposition parties, the answer is simple.
If Zuma is going to continue to stay in office, he's leaving us with no option but to engage in a practical steps to remove him.
All what is needed now is for President Zuma to pack his bags and go because he has been given a red card.
Others say it's proof the ruling party can no longer abuse its parliamentary majority to rubber stamp decisions.
What this judgment does is to say you can be a majority, however big you are, but if you are not consistent with the Constitution, if that majority is not consistent with the Constitution, it's irrelevant.
But the ANC isn't ready to make any rash decisions. It's convened an urgent meeting of its most senior leaders to discuss the next step.
We were an organization, we have a conference, we have a president elected by conference. Whether I have the authority to come up and say I have no confidence in the president of the ANC, I don't have the confidence, let alone how I feel, what I want and what I think. I don't have the authority to declare a vote of no confidence on the president of the ANC.
If the ANC doesn't join the opposition in calling for Zuma's removal, the EFF has urged all South Africans to unite and march until the president steps down. Pagamile Hlubi, Johannesburg.
And on the back of all of that, the NPA and the Hawks have denied they are investigating Thuli Madonsela. Earlier, the public protector claimed she was being investigated for maintaining that her remedial actions were legally binding. The revelation comes on the same day the Constitutional Court reinforced the powers of the Office of the Public Protector.
Hi, it's good to see you again.
Despite the Constitutional Court ruling, the Nkandla saga is still hanging over Thuli Madonsela.
I would celebrate if the NPA and the Hawks can, at least by tonight, send me a report that says they have stopped investigating me.
The public protector says she didn't think much about the probe until she was approached by senior police officials.
They claimed that it was criminal because the opinion I expressed about my powers in the Western Cape High Court differed from the opinion I expressed.
Thuli Madonsela's term in office has been defined by the Nkandla saga. Since releasing the findings of her investigation into the president's homestead, she's been subjected to all sorts of attacks. From name-calling and personal insults to threats of legal action. At one point, Madonsela was even accused of being a CIA agent. But now she's being vindicated by the highest court in the land.
She is the embodiment of a biblical David that the public is, who fights the most powerful and very well-resourced Goliath that impropriety and corruption by government officials are.
Although this historical ruling about the powers of her office has come towards the end of her tenure, Madonsela says it's better late than never. Leranzo Temba, Pretoria.
Let's change gears now and take a look at world news. Leaders of Libya's unity government have arrived by boat in the capital of the divided country with the intention of taking control. Tripoli's airspace has been intermittently closed to stop the presidency council based in Tunisia from arriving by air. The body was formed as part of a United Nations agreement for a unity government. Libya has been in chaos since the 2011 overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi, and since 2014 there have been two competing administrations. Amnesty International says Qatar is not fit to host the 2022 Soccer World Cup. That's after the rights body interviewed over 230 migrant workers. It says the workers renovating a flagship stadium have been subjected to human rights abuses, including forced labor. Qatar pledged last year to change a system under which migrant workers cannot change jobs or leave the country without their employer's permission. And a huge rescue operation underway in the Indian city of Kolkata after the collapse of a flyover, still under construction. A 100-meter length of metal and cement snapped off and crashed down on moving traffic below. At least 18 people were killed. Scores are still feared to be trapped in the debris.
Here's Duduzile standing by with all your social media.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Sandile. It's been a busy day. The Constitutional Court says President Jacob Zuma failed to uphold, defend and respect the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. And today we asked you what this ruling means. And here are your responses. 25% of respondents voting, well, no one is above the law, while 8% believe it's robust and a mature democracy at play here. And 58% of respondents voting, well, the president must resign, while 9% voted, well, it's business as usual. So let's leave Mother Earth for now, and Pastor Mboro apparently has been to heaven and back. It's reported the incident took place during the Easter weekend, and the pastor, get this, has selfies with Jesus as proof. Well, if you want to have a heavenly experience and see Jesus, all you have to do is pay 5,000 Rand to see the experience. To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNEWS Direct, or head on over to our website. That's enca.com/direct. Do stay with us. After the break, your business news as well as your detailed weather forecast. Money matters now, and while South Africa's economy is battling to grow, Kenya's is not. The country is taking advantage of low oil prices and improved agriculture. The World Bank forecasts that Kenya's economy will expand by 5.9% this year. It says the strong growth is backed by a supportive monetary policy and infrastructure investments. The organization predicts the country's growth will hit 6% in 2017. That's up from just 5.6% last year. However, the projected growth may be threatened by domestic factors like the country's election in August. Potential investors may put investment decisions on hold until after the poll. The East African nation's government expects the economy to grow between 6 and 6.5% in 2016. And with that, let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Center now. Here's Candace.
A series of fronts have moved over the southern part of South Africa throughout the week, and on Friday morning we'll see one of those fronts bring in some light rain or drizzle along the eastern Cape coastline. We're expecting a dry forecast over the eastern parts with some cloud overhead, and we're expecting a few thundershowers mainly over the southeastern interior. We'll see another cold front move in on Friday night, and that brings in rainfall over the southwestern parts, and it results in a windy Friday over the southern part of South Africa. It'll be a sizzling hot end to the work week throughout KwaZulu-Natal. You'll see most maximum temperatures peaking in the middle and upper 30s. We're expecting some morning light rain or drizzle along the eastern Cape coast as well as for the adjacent lying interior, and we're forecasting thundershowers over the northeastern part of the province. Dry over the eastern part of the Western Cape, but with the possibility of rainfall, particularly over the southwestern parts. We're expecting a mild Friday with most maximums in the low 20s. Cold for Sutherland at -2 and 17 degrees with a sunny forecast. Warm for Uppington and Prieska, both at 28. We're forecasting thundershowers mainly over the western and southern part of the Free State, with a high fire danger warning throughout the province as well as over the western part of the northwest. A high of 34 degrees for Mahikeng with a bit of cloud overhead in the northwest. We're also expecting some high cloud for Limpopo, in the mid-30s for Lephalale and Messina, with Polokwane and Zanin expecting a maximum of 32 degrees. 33 for Bombela and Mkondo with a mostly sunny day throughout Mpumalanga. A high of around 30 over the western part of the province. Very little change to the weather for Gauteng at the moment, 31 degrees for Johannesburg, Pretoria at 33 with a mostly sunny day. On Saturday, we're forecasting partly cloudy and mild weather over the southern part of South Africa. We're expecting rainfall over parts of KwaZulu-Natal and the Lowveld throughout the weekend, with another sunny and dry day over the interior, and we're expecting warmer weather in the west. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Have a great night.
As Cape Town prepares to host another installment of the Cape Town International Jazz Festival, musos and fans from across the world have already jetted in.
It's all about music these days, but for young amateur musicians, it's an opportunity to learn from some of the world's best.
South African jazz royalty Abigail Kubeka and Dorothy Masuka have been entertaining South African audiences for over 70 years. But they're not just here to entertain. They're offering masterclasses for young and hopeful musicians.
I have been singing for all my life.
It's part of the Cape Town International Jazz Festival's training and development program.
We were chosen by the Creator, by this profession. And so it's so sacred, and we respect that, we honor it, we cherish it, and we giving it to his children.
But what has sustained these two legends' career for all these years?
It's respect, love. Respecting the people, respecting the ground that you walk on.
I am sweet and 200.
The Living Legends program is a chance for young jazzos to get up close and personal with their heroes.
I came to this workshop just to learn a bit more from the icons before us, listening to them, answering their questions, and just a bit of knowledge that I can take forth into my own career, I guess.
As an African and as a young woman, it can draw me back to where our music, our roots came from, because we are used to hip-hop and stuff.
Judging by all these curious young minds and the excitement on their faces, I think there's going to be an influx of young, fresh new musical talent in South Africa. And no surprise with such inspiring role models leading the way. Tanya Neft, Langa, Cape Town.
A reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye. The Constitutional Court rules that President Jacob Zuma violated the Constitution by ignoring the Public Protector's findings on Nkandla. The ANC convenes an urgent meeting of senior leaders following the ConCourt judgment, while opposition parties call for Zuma to resign. And that's a wrap from the eNEWS Direct team.
It is indeed. We're back at the same time tomorrow. Up next, Rhythm City.
Until tomorrow night, have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.